This video continues to discuss finding solutions to equations. Specifically, we're going to focus on nonlinear equations. Not every equation between x and y will form a linear or straight line graph. One of the most common nonlinear relationships happens when we apply an exponent, like this little 2 here, to a variable. Our example for today is y equals x squared minus 3. Before creating a graph, the first thing we need to do is find some solutions to this equation and organize them in a table. Here, I've selected some values for x in advance, and we're going to figure out for this equation what is the y value needed for the solution for each of these x values. I'd always select x equals 0 because that's the easiest one to work with. If we put 0 in, any number 0 times itself is going to still equal 0. All we're left with is negative 3 for y if x is equal to 0. Next, we want to figure out if x is equal to 2. What is the y value that works as a solution for this equation? So we would take the x value of 2 and we would plug that into our equation or substitute the x out and replace it with 2. We then follow the order of operations to continue solving for y. The first thing we would do is 2 squared, which means 2 times 2, and that equals to 4. Then at that point, 4 minus 3 tells us that if we selected 2 for x, the y value has to be positive 1. Similarly, we could plug the 4 in for x and figure out what y value we would need. Again, the first operation we would perform is the exponent, 4 squared, and we know that 4 times 4 leaves us with 16. 16 minus 3 leaves us with 13, so if x is equal to 4, then y has to be equal to 13. The last x value we're going to pick is a negative value, a negative 4 for x. If I take this equation, y equals x squared minus 3, I'm going to replace the x with negative 4. It's important to use parentheses because this reminds me that it's the negative 4 that needs to be squared. And if I do a negative 4 times a negative 4, that's going to leave me with positive 16 when I do a negative number times by a negative number. So the equation simply becomes y equals 16 minus 3. The same thing we saw over here, which means that y takes a value of positive 13 when the x was negative 4. The same exact y value for two different x's.